Hey everyone, it's Grant from RaiderIO. Welcome to Battlefield Banter, an interview series where we dive into the heart of the action by trying to survive a heroic dungeon whilst chatting to our favourite World of Warcraft creators in Warcraft's newest game mode, Mr. Pandaria Remix. Today I'm joined by Ellesmere, a player who has competed as a healer in the Race to World First, MDI, and the Great Push with teams such as Ambition and Golden Guardians. He has also cultivated an audience of passionate fans who eagerly follow his every move in Azeroth. So buckle up, let's make some memories on the battlefield and get to know just a little bit more about Ellesmere. Ellesmere, welcome to Battlefield Banter. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. How are you feeling today?
I am feeling as good as I can be. I came down with a little bit of a sickness, but happy to be here.
And first thing I want to know is, I know you had some surgery recently, you've been tweeting about it and stuff. That's all okay, you're going to be okay, right?
Yeah. Just you know, a little organ removed, nothing too important.
That's fine. It can't be that important. You don't need it. Okay, let's get into some questions as we get into our first dungeon. Question 1. When I think of you, the first thing I think of is how devilishly handsome you are, and also about Holy Paladins. Why Holy Paladin? What is it about Holy Paladin?
Something just drew me to the spec a long time ago. I kind of basically it was actually at the end of Warlords of Draenor. I got recruited by BDG, Big Dumb Gaming, at the time, and I was with them for 2 weeks, but they asked me to reroll Holy Pally before I decided that I was gonna go start a new guild with my friends on a random server. But in that time, in the short 2 weeks, I really fell in love with Holy Pally. I just really like the way that it's like a melee healer, so you're in all the action. I've always been a healer at heart, but I've never really enjoyed casting and being like standing far away from the action. I've always wanted to kind of be right in the middle of the battle, so Holy Pally allowed me to enjoy that while still being a healer.
Does Monk hit like a similar spot for you? Does it, or is it Paladin all the way?
Well, Monk didn't used to, but with the way that they've changed it recently, it is exactly what I've always wanted Holy Pally to feel like. And honestly, it feels better than Holy Pally in a lot of ways. So I really, really enjoyed playing Mistweaver in Season 3 of Dragonflight. I thought the Mistweaver designer has done an amazing job with the spec, and everything has just felt so good.
And do you feel that way about Paladin coming into the War Within? A beta is launching literally any second, if it hasn't already, as we're recording.
If I'm being honest, I think that Holy Pally needs a lot of work. I think it's in a pretty rough spot, and I'm really hoping that it gets the love that it deserves during this. What is happening to this guy?
He just stood in the front of the whole time.
I don't even... I'm really hoping that they help Holy Pally because it's in desperate need of it. It basically got a lot of love in 1.5 in Dragonflight when it got its rework, and then they nerfed it a bunch because it was a little too strong with its comp synergy in the God comp. And when they nerfed it like 10 or 15 times in a row, around the 15th time, it became borderline unplayable in solo content, to the point where, like, I don't think any healer has ever felt as bad as Holy Pally does currently play in solo content. So I'm really hoping that they look at that and try to fix some of the glaring issues with Holy Pally going into War Within.
That's yeah. I think I agree. Holy Paladins are down bad. They're not in the best from the people I speak to as well.
It can be difficult to say that, though, especially as a Holy Pally main, because Holy Pally historically has been so meta that, you know, if a Holy Pally ever talks about, you know, not being meta or being weak, then it's really easy for people to just write that off. But I think there's a big difference between asking to be meta and asking to be
playable.
Like it's so bad. It's so painfully bad right now. So I really hope that they look at it.
Okay, let's move on to some competitive stuff, because you recently joined Team Hope, formerly known as Last Hope, NA's Last Hope, and you're going to be playing with them for Season 4's Great Push. This is you making a comeback to the competitive side of WoW. Talk to me a little bit about how it happened, where it came from, why it came from, I guess, and how you're feeling about it.
Well, I really wanted to start competing again, and I mean, obviously, I've done a lot of live key competing, but it's been like almost 4 seasons or 5 seasons since I've competed in a TGP or MDI, and I really wanted to get back to it. And playing with Dorky is something that I've always wanted to do. He's an amazing tank, and he's got incredible vibes, and the whole team is just incredible vibes and really, really fun to play with. So I couldn't be more excited to compete with them in this upcoming tournament.
Talk to me about like the things that you missed while you were gone. Was there anything particular that really you found yourself surprised to have been missing or to have been, wanting to do again?
I think the biggest thing for me is just like I've always been a hyper competitive player and somebody who loves the adrenaline of competing at the highest level. So getting back on that stage is just something that I'm really, really, really eager to do.
Okay. What are your expectations for the season? Firstly, for yourself, how do you feel? What is, the minimum success? How do you define success for you with this upcoming season?
Winning.
Really?
Winning the whole thing.
Wow.
I mean, if you don't expect to win and if you're not trying to win, then what are you doing? Why are you even competing?
Oh my god, that's probably the most alpha answer I've had since I started the series.
I think that anybody that's competing at that level, if you don't expect to win and if that's not like what you expect of yourself as well as your team, then you're probably not going to win. So
what about the team? Is everyone on that same sort of
I hope so.
Track? Yeah.
If not, we're going to have a discussion, but from what I've seen, everybody is of the same mindset that we want to win.
Yeah, Dorky. Oh, goodbye 2 punch max.
Ow.
And nearly me. Okay. Wait. Concentrate on playing for a sec. How do you like the changes that have been made to the format? Things like having to play 1-1-3, no going out, no swapping, things like that. And then also no elimination during day 1 and 2. I believe everyone's dying.
Yeah, that's okay.
I got this.
As long as we're alive, we're good.
Yeah, no one important died. That's the.
I think overall, it's going to be a good, healthy thing for the tournament. But what I would like to see is that being carried over to live. I think that it's that the game should be made in a way that we don't require that in tournament rules. I think the fact that we have to require that means that there is some issues in the game, especially with healing and required healing in dungeons and off healing from other specs. And I think that I would like to see that addressed. But because it hasn't been yet, I do think that having that rule in place is a healthy thing for the tournament. And part of that is also, it's nice that they don't allow people to zone out in keys as well during the tournament, because on live keys, you have a lot of degenerate stuff with healers like zoning out and in. And so it'll be nice to see that curbed a bit in tournament play, so that you don't have to have healers like being forced to go boomkin spec and stuff for half the key.
Yeah, I can speak as a member of RaiderIO staff as well, who only track what happens when the key starts. We would like it if people weren't going out and in and changing talents and stuff.
True.
We'll see if everyone's going to queue up. We'll just stick with the group from now. Okay, let's talk a little about affixes, because you've been quite vocal about affixes in the past, and I believe even your pinned tweet now is like day 7,852 of asking them to remove burst in raging, or whichever it is. If you were given the power to make one change, I'm only giving you one, to the affix system, what would you do?
I would change. Okay, does this count as one? You're
in charge.
I would change the layout of affixes, basically. I would make it so that you would have one weekly affix instead of 2. I would bring back seasonal affixes, and then it would just be one seasonal affix, one weekly affix, and then fortified/tyrannical. Would I like to see fortified and tyrannical removed? Absolutely. Do I think that's ever going to happen? Probably not. I think that Blizzard is pretty dead set on keeping fortified and tyrannical around. So I'm just trying to, work with that and come up with the best possible solution, which I think 2 weekly affixes is not it. and there are so many awful affixes that you could remove by cutting down to just one weekly affix, and then you would still get a 6-week rotation to 6 to 12-week rotation. If you're counting tyrannical and fortified, it'd be a 12-week rotation, assuming you have 6 weekly affixes, and that would be significantly healthier for the game. And you could bring back seasonal affixes, which I think personally were very good for the game. I know I think seasonal affixes are kind of hit or miss for a lot of people because the seasonal affixes themselves have been somewhat hit or miss. But I think that if Blizzard brings back seasonal affixes, they'll have learned a lot from their mistakes in the past with focusing on less on punishments and a little bit more on rewards. Yeah. I think that doesn't necessarily mean that the rewards have to be insane. It just means that the punishments can't be insane. Like, for example, if Thundering made it so that people dealt less damage for the next 20 seconds, but if you completed Thundering correctly, then you gained damage for 20 seconds, that would be good. The problem with Thundering was that the punishment was too severe, and you would end up with people getting stunned. If they misplayed, the tank would get stunned, and then suddenly everybody just dies because the tank is stunned, and that's it, So I think the problem before with seasonal affix, the only issue seasonal affixes have really ever had is when the punishment is too severe. Yeah. And I think if they can curb that, and I know that they can, then everybody would enjoy seasonal affixes, because seasonal affixes did bring a lot to the game. Yeah, seasonal affixes brought really cool flavor from season to season. You had the ability to create a theme from season to season, which is needed more so than ever now that we're basically bringing back old dungeons, and there's really no continuity or theme going on from season to season, which I think we sorely lack. The other thing is that affixes were kind of meant to keep the game or keep Mythic Plus fresh from week to week, because we'd be doing the same dungeons for an entire year or 3 years or however long the expansion is. And now that we have new dungeons every single season, I don't think there's quite as much of a need for affixes. So taking a little bit off of the weekly burden of affixes and focusing more on dungeons, I think would be a really good thing for the game.
What about the way keys are handled? Because I've spoken to Royd and chat. I've spoken to a lot of M+ players, as we do at Rio. And the way keys are handled, you don't time, you lose the key. Not being able to pick the right key, having to farm for keys and stuff is a major point of contention. Where do you stand on the actual Keystone itself?
I think everybody that you ask is going to give you a different answer, because everybody is very opinionated on this. The problem is that there's no real one solution fits all. Everybody kind of wants different things. Like, I know a lot of people really love key depletion. I know a lot of people really hate key depletion. I know a lot of people that hate having to reroll keys, but I also know what things could be like if you could just pick any key that you wanted to and just walk in and keys didn't deplete and it was just tournament realm all the time. It would be a very, very different scene competitively, and the focus would just go to something else, and then people would have a problem with that new thing. I think you're never really going to make everybody happy no matter what you do, which is kind of the story of all of WoW. Because WoW is so diverse. You have so many different people that want to enjoy the game in completely different ways. And so I think all that Blizzard can do is do their best to make the game as good as they can, and as good as their design is. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't listen to player feedback. They definitely should. But I think when it comes to this particular thing, player feedback is all over the place. There are many things where player feedback is super in agreement. For example, affixes. Everybody knows that stuff needs to be done with affixes. What specifically varies a little bit, but in general, a lot of sentiments are similar. I don't think that is the case with how the key system is handled. I think I have heard so many different things from so many different people about how key depletion should be handled, how key selection should be handled, and I'm really not sure that there's like a solution that would make everybody happy, or even close to everybody happy. So I wish I could give you the answer that you're looking for, or just like do this, and
of course.
that will solve all the problems. But I just don't think it's as simple as that.
I wish I had that answer too, because it's not. Yeah, you're right. That's not. I'm very much in agreement with you in that they've been close a few times, especially with seasonal affixes. Like, I love the reward of prideful, but having to fix your roots so strictly, that wasn't the one for me. So yeah, I like what you're saying. I definitely find that I'm in agreement with you, despite being nowhere near the player you are. That makes me feel good inside. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Paladin again. I know we're jumping around a little bit here, but
I just want to make it clear that just regardless of the player's skill level you have, does not mitigate or
your opinion.
Yeah, your opinion.
Yeah,
and Blizzard should be listening to everyone, not just the top players. You know,
of course. Yeah.
I don't know how the game should be designed. I just am passionate about the things that I love in the game and have opinions on it, but that doesn't mean my opinions are right. So it's important that you don't, you know, say, "Oh, I'm not as good of a player as you are, so you shouldn't listen to me." That's not what we want for the game.
You're so nice. Okay, focus. Okay, let's talk about Paladin. Paladin, as we said, is in a state where we're not the happiest of chaps. If you could take an element from some of the other specs, healing specs, let's say, you know, we'll start with Druid. What about Druid do you think would work? Even if not work, would just be fun for the Paladin kit. I wouldn't worry about theme too much here and, you know, class identity.
Fun or...
Yeah, let's go fun. Let's go fun.
Okay. Let me start off by saying delete raid buffs.
Yes.
Which has nothing to do with this, but I just wanted to get that out. And you mentioned what I would take, and I would take Mark of the Wild every time.
Yeah.
But if we're going for fun, I think the most fun thing that Druid has going for it is probably, I like the way that it deals its damage. I know form shifting isn't great, but I do enjoy the reward of dot maintenance, which is kind of weird because I know a lot of people will kind of disagree with me on that and find dot maintenance to be annoying. But I do think that there's something a little bit boring and simplistic about Holy Pally's damage, just because it's basically just slam, you know, one rotation over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And there's not much variance. Whereas Druid, you know, you get to weave in combo points, you get to, you know, weave in different types of dots, and it's just a little bit more rewarding to min-max your damage.
Okay.
So
Priest, and you can't say PI because that's too easy an answer.
Yeah. I don't want PI. I think that's okay. I think if I were to choose one thing from Priest, it would probably be Holy Priest's new Holy Fire abilities. That shit is so fun. I don't know if you have played Holy Priest with the new talents and stuff, but they have these incredible cooldowns that make Holy Fire just pop off, and it's really, really entertaining.
Okay, let's go Shaman.
Shaman,
I would
the
say
animations and the sound effects. I've always loved sound effects and animations of Resto Shaman, and I've always kind of disliked Holy Pallies. Or at least thought that Holy Pallies were pretty boring. I would love for them to put the same effort into Holy Pally animations and sound effects.
That's a great answer that I hadn't even thought of. Okay, I've forgotten what else exists. Evoker.
Evoker, I like the simplicity of the spec and the fact that it's not bogged down by a lot of bloat. I think that a lot of healers currently are filled with button bloat. Wait, I've heard legends of this boss in this game mode. Did they fix it? Wasn't it like a 20-minute fight or something?
Nah, yeah, it's not now. You just kill like 3 ads and then he.
Oh, okay. I haven't played this game yet.
Yeah, it did take
I've only seen the tweets.
Don't worry, you're okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of healers have become bogged down heavily by button bloat in general, and just like an overwhelming amount of buttons for every healing spec. And I think Evoker, because it's one of the more recent specs design-wise, doesn't really suffer from that as much. And so I'm a little bit envious of Evoker for that reason.
And I'm going to say finally, but I'm probably wrong. Monk.
Mobility. Monk's mobility is very, very fun. Also, their unique defensive kit. I love their unique defensive kit. They have so many different defensives, and all of them can be used in unique ways, and they're very, very powerful. And when you learn to rotate through them properly, it's just incredibly rewarding. So I think Monk's defensive kit and their mobility are the things I would be most interested about translating to HBAL, who does not have, HBAL does not have much mobility at all. And our defensive kit is very boring. As much as I love Bubble, it's just Bubble and then one, 40-second defensive for 20% DR. And it's just not very interesting. Oh, although I must add one more thing about Monk. Manatee. Their mana management is so much better than every other healer. And I really hope that devs going forward, if they're going to focus on mana as a thing, because obviously devs have put more focus into mana being a thing in the recent patches for healers. And if that's going to continue, they really need to focus on giving every healer the same type of reward and mana management that Monk has from Manatee. It's really fun to play around, whereas every other healer's mana management is really, you either can't play around it or it's just not fun to play around. Yeah, or you don't have to, exactly. You just play Resto Druid.
Yeah, they're really good right now. Since your comeback, are you still trying to make Paladin work?
No, absolutely not. I have always tried to make Paladin work and always been a big advocate for trying to not just immediately fold to the meta and try to do whatever you can to make other things work before you fold. But in Paladin's current state, there's really nothing you can do to compete with, if you're trying, obviously you could play any healer at 95% of key levels. But if you're trying to compete at the world first level, you HPAL, you could get away with Mistweaver, you could get away with Priest. You cannot get away with HPAL. It's just, it's just not possible.
Oh my god, where did that boss go?
Yeah, that boss got, I'm going to guess it had something to do with our tank one-shotting it.
Yeah, I think his cloak might be fully stacked. Okay, you are a very established name in Mythic Plus, and especially in the North American scene. You have name recognition. If you go up to a key, you get into your key. Have you got any tip for a player who doesn't have that, who's trying to get invited to these bigger keys, who's trying to push, who just can't get invited regularly? How do you get yourself out there?
I've talked about this before, but a lot of Mythic Plus, and not just Mythic Plus in general, but this applies to real life as well, but a lot of it has to do with just socializing and building networks and networking. I started out in Legion. I started out M+ in middle of Legion, and I started just pugging. I pugged every single key. I struggled the same as everyone else did trying to get into keys. I played with guildies. I pugged when I could. Obviously, I was a healer, so it was a little bit less of a struggle compared to a DPS. However, what I did was every time I played, if there was somebody in the group that was particularly good or that I liked, I, messaged them and I was like, hey, I really liked playing with you. Can I add you on BNet? Most of the time they said yes. I added them on BNet and I just grew my BattleNets list full of players that I thought played well in keys. And the more I did this, the bigger the list grew and the more people I had to ask if they wanted to play manually. At some point, I hit a point where I was like, okay, I want to take my game to the next level. I went on to, at the time, WoW Progress, which is now basically RaiderIO. And I used WoW Progress to find the top 5 or top 10 Blood DKs, because at the time Blood DK was the super meta tank. And I found the top 10 Blood DKs in the US, and I went in-game messaged all 10 of them.
Oh, wow.
And was like, yo, I'm a new player. I'm looking to push. I'm interested in, becoming a better player and blah, blah, blah. And would you want to maybe try some keys with me to try it out? I didn't hear back from 7 of them. And 2 of them, it never really panned out, but one of them I did actually end up playing with, and we started pushing keys together, and we instantly like got really close, and we and that was the first person that I played. Their name's Suffer, and that's the first person that I did any keys with back then. And they're the first person I competed in MDI with, even though it was like the very first time I had ever tried being a competitive player, and we didn't do very well. But it was fun, and I learned a lot, and I grew. I was able to grow my list of friends significantly more while playing with this tank, and basically the lesson here is that I spent a lot of effort into networking and growing my friends list and building my own teams over time, and that's the way that I broke into the scene. I recognize that social anxiety plays a huge role in this, and I actually suffer a lot from social anxiety as well. It was really hard for me to get past. It took me a long time before I was like, okay, I can message these people and nothing bad will happen. You know, they'll just say no, blah, blah, blah. But like, it can be really, really difficult for people. And I wish I had better advice for those people, because I know that a lot of people, especially in WoW, have a really hard time with that. Is this get? Wait, are we supposed to? Oh, that's what I thought. I was like, wait, I think we're supposed to wait for those guys to go.
Yeah, I got eaten.
Yeah. Oh, that's you. Oh no.
Yeah, it is me. I think you make a really good point. I think that the learning to talk with people and to make friends is how so many of these people. You know, I came over from a different esport, from StarCraft 2, and I knew really no one. And whilst my story is different to yours in that I wasn't a player, I was a commentator. I messaged Scope, every one of them once a week. Like, hey, I really want to do this. This is what I want to do. Here's a demo reel. Here's a new demo reel. And I put myself out there, and I went out of my comfort zone, and I ended up doing 6 back-to-back Race to World First for every organization, except for Liquid. So I'm with you. I think it's good, and I know it can be hard. But the worst someone ever says is no. Most of them don't respond, and then they've not said anything, and that's okay. So I'm with you. Okay, let's talk about the war within, because it is, as we said, looming. Beta could be up any second from when we're recording. What are your thoughts of the dungeons that have been picked, the old dungeons that are being brought back? So Siege of Borealis, Mist of Tierna Scythe, Wake, and Grim Batol.
Man, you really hearing all of those in one sentence is a little bit rough. I'll be honest. I'm not thrilled. I think, yeah, I don't mind Mists, but there were a lot of things I very much disliked about Mists. I kind of liked the RNG of the maze, but also not when it came to a competitive perspective.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit complicated. I also think that the boss should get the same treatment when they look at it again as some of the other bosses when they've brought them back, and with their recent changes to how they try to scale tyrannical bosses that have intermissions. So like the first boss, I would love to see them do the same thing that they did with like the last boss in Halls, for example, where they make it oh my gosh, where they don't make it time-based, but oh no, I'm just gonna kite this out.
Oh, me too.
In general, I think that they picked some very controversial dungeons to bring back, and I'm not sure that it's going to pan out great for them. I think Siege is probably the most questionable. I don't know why they thought that that was a great dungeon to bring back. I'm pretty sure it's fairly universally hated as like one of the worst dungeons of all time. I don't know if they have plans to change that and, you know, make heavy alterations to the dungeon. Also with the whole like Alliance versus Horde start being very different. People really did not like that. I would like to see them change that as well. I think that there could be a lot of potentially not great sentiment regarding season 1 if they don't make some heavy changes to these dungeons. So all I can say is that I really hope that they look at these dungeons and don't just bring them back one for one.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess my one hope is that I do feel they did, I'm so bad at names, the underwater dungeon that they brought back last season. Oh
Throne
my
of the
gosh.
Tides.
I thought they did a better job than I anticipated with that. Now, that doesn't mean it was the best dungeon I've ever played, but it was better than I anticipated. So I hope they can make them playable, but I'm scared. I'm scared, Ellesmere. Okay.
I am also scared.
Yeah, we all are. Okay, so I want to know, talking a little bit about streaming now, and I know we're jumping all over the place, but I like to get to know someone in every aspect of their sort of WoW life. So, trying to be the best in the world, and I certainly get a vibe from you that you very much want to be number one. You want to win everything. What are the challenges associated with streaming and trying to be that good a player? Are there any really glaring things that streaming is a detriment towards in terms of competing?
I wouldn't say detriment outside of mental health, which can be a huge factor that a lot of people don't really consider. I don't think there's, outside of mental health, I would not say that there's much of a detriment as long as you make sure that you're not like constantly reading chat while doing keys or like prioritizing streaming over. The thing is, if you want to be a hyper competitive player and compete for that, world first position and play in these tournaments and stream at the same time, you have to put the tournaments and the competition first, or your team will resent you and you will never get far. So you do have to put streaming second, which can be unfortunate for your viewers. It can feel pretty bad when, you want to interact with your chat and stuff, but you literally cannot look away from your computer screen for 30 minutes at a time, Yeah. So that part can be rough. As for the mental health aspect, being a competitor at any level and being in the public eye can weigh a lot, and can, it comes with people who will, you'll get haters, you'll get people who say really nasty things about you, you'll have, fans of opposing teams that are not very kind at all, and that gets amplified when you are a larger streamer. And the larger a streamer you are, the worse you're going to get in terms of the hate and those types of people coming into your chat and saying things. And it took me a long time to get past that and learn how to like let that kind of roll off my back and not, hyper fixate on the negatives and instead try to focus on the positives. And it's something that requires effort. You have to put in effort and time into making sure that you are not letting that stuff get to your head. It took me probably 2 years worth of competing before I was really able to soak up those comments without letting it affect me very intensely. Mm-hmm. It's still, it still affects everybody to a certain extent, but the goal is to minimize that as much as you can. And you have to just understand that the better you are and the harder you play and the more competitive you end up, the more you're going to get stuff like that thrown your way. And you need to learn how to not listen to it and to drown that out.
Yeah, I can only reiterate, as obviously not a competitor, but being in the public eye, you are very right. It's hard. You're completely correct. All right, let's go to something a little lighter here. So, I was doing some research, diving into the archives, so to speak, and I found an interview that we did with you in 22, where you told us that you come from a very musical family. You are a violinist and a composer and things like that. And I want to know about the influence your grandfather had on you, and sort of the impacts that coming from such a musical family and music as a whole has had on your life.
Yeah, I come from a long line of violinists who were all very, very critically acclaimed, and it did skip my dad's generation, but then it got passed down to me. And my grandfather, who passed away a few years ago, it was a huge inspiration to me growing up and taught me the violin himself. He passed me down his violin, who was passed down from his great grandfather. So my violin is hundreds of years old. Yeah. And so it's a beautiful legacy to carry. Obviously, sometimes I feel like I should have, been a violinist, because I feel like part of me didn't end up doing this is the carry that you were talking about, where somebody just walks in and one-shots everything.
Daniel West has one-shot the boss so far, and he's already on the second.
There it is. I think with any type of legacy that's passed down to you like that, there comes a sense of like responsibility where you feel like you have to do certain things. And I'm very fortunate that my family understood when I basically around college was, by the time it was time for me to audition for colleges, I had spent tens of thousands of hours on the violin and had poured so much of my life into the violin. And eventually I hit a point where I realized this isn't really for me, and I wasn't really getting what I wanted out of it. And I'm very fortunate to have a family that understood that was not my passion anymore. And not only understood it, but supported me in finding new passions, whether, that was music or not. And obviously at the current time, it's a little bit less focused on music. But I think I just want to take a moment to just say thank you to my family for understanding and supporting me through that transition and allowing me to explore other avenues in life. And I can only hope that others are offered that same opportunity.
Yeah,
because I know not everybody is.
No, so I'm lucky like you. My passion has always been making people laugh, telling stories and things like that. And when I got to travel in StarCraft, and then I had to take a step back for a long time because I was really, really sick. But when I came back and I got my first Race to World First gig, it was COVID, and my dad built me a studio. He built me a studio to do it. He didn't know what I was doing, but he built an outbuilding. He did it all, soundproofed it, set everything up so I could do a Race to World First. So I understand completely where you're coming from. It's wicked, isn't it? And he still watches everything I do. He will be watching this. Not now, obviously, that would be weird. But anyway, okay. Sticking with music. If in an alternate universe, a movie was made about your life, and in this alternate universe, you're playing on the grander stage, you're playing BlizzCon World Finals. Scarlet Judicator, go away, I'm telling a story.
I bubbled and sent him to you, so you're welcome.
Wait, I can go to a new dungeon. I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to be okay. Yes, I got away. Okay, so you're playing BlizzCon Grand Finals with your team. What piece of music would you use to score that occasion? That's a tough one.
You told me there were no questions I needed to
I know, I forgot about this one.
This is a very tough one. Off the top of my head,
Baby Shark, sorry.
Exactly. Let me think. It would definitely be a piece of film music. So I'm heavily inspired by film music and John Williams specifically, who was my idol growing up as a, film composer and somebody who wanted to really get into film composition. And that kind of became, when I got a little sick of the violin, I poured a lot of my musical interest into writing music instead. And John Williams has always been my biggest inspiration. So it would definitely be a piece by him. As for which one, there are so many incredible ones to choose from. It's hard to say. Why don't you ask me another question, and then I will wrap around to that. I'll think about it.
We talked about influences, and you mentioned your family, your grandfather specifically. Specifically in gaming, who are your influences? Who do you look up to now as someone who's really done a lot?
Without question, Xaylia. Xaylia is the best player in WoW, in my opinion. He has time and time again proven incredible skill that has been unmatched by pretty much any healer that I've ever seen. I am
Yep.
dying. Oh my god. I can't live this. I don't even know what that dot is.
I think you're stood in the little rune on the ground, maybe? I don't know. Okay.
I was standing all the way back here. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you are. It's fine.
I got some sort of dot.
Okay. I'll tell you a Azalea story. It's a good one, actually. So,
Okay.
a few years back, I was working with Echo when they were sort of first starting up, and I was helping them out, and just, I cast a few of the world first for them and things like that. When Gripe first found out he was having his child, a YouTube video was made, which I headed up. So I got everyone to send me, a video of them saying, congratulations, all of the sort of nice things. Zalia doesn't just send me a video. He sends me a file. In that file is 32 other files, just like 1, 2, all numbered. All of them are empty, except for 2 of them. One of them has a video of him saying congratulations. It was like a hyper close-up. The other one is him Naruto running across a field. He never explained why. I still don't know why. It was the most insane thing I've ever seen. He must have spent a lot of time.
Story.
He went outside, had someone else film this for him, and then never ever addressed it. So that's my Zalia story when everyone asks me. He is as insane as he sounds. Okay. And I have one more sort of proper question, and that is, it's not really a proper question, it's a silly one. The name Ellesmere, where does it come from for you?
So I know a lot of people think that it's actually based on the location in Europe, but it is not.
Me. It's really close to me, yeah.
Yeah. So when I was young, I was really into this book series called Aragon.
Yeah, I read Aragon, all of them.
Yeah. So I was, I was like 12 or 13 when I made my first character on WoW, and I made a hunter. But his name was not Ellesmere. It was my second character that I made, who was a priest. And that character I named Ellesmere, and this tank is going to die. And I named him Ellesmere. I named my character Ellesmere because I was reading Aragon at the time, and the elven city in Aragon is named Ellesmere. And I really liked the name, but I didn't want to copy it one for one. So I was like, oh, I'll just do Ellesmere instead of Ellesmere.
Yeah.
And that's where my name comes from.
Oh, I was hoping, because Ellesmere is a town in Shropshire, in England. Very, very, within an hour or so of me, I believe. And I was like, there's no way. Like, first I was like, does he live here? Like, can we, we'll go for a beer. But no. Okay, so that was my final question. Of course, I would, of course, we will get you to talk about what you've got coming up. But we will go back one final time. Did you have a chance? Have you decided to score your most epic moment?
Oh my God, I got you, buddy.
Oh, what the?
Hold on, I'm looking for my battle res button.
Do you have one?
I found it. I did. I just got it last level. Let's go.
I haven't looked at talents. I've got like 8 talent points.
I think I will probably choose ET's flying theme, which is a beautiful, beautiful, like 10-minute song. So it's long. It's got a lot of different emotions in it, which I think would encapsulate the different emotions that you feel while competing.
It's good. I think the cliche answer is to just go Jewel of the Fates, right? That's the
sure. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna,
and it's a banger. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, for sure. There are a few things better. Wait, what am I doing here?
I have no idea.
Oh, this is the find the clone thing, right?
Yeah,
oh no, I'm so dead. I just bubble. Screw it.
Just
Let somebody
bubble
else
Hearthstone.
How do we know?
I have no idea whatsoever. I also haven't played that much of this game mode. So it's difficult. Okay.
I chose correctly. Let's go.
Just guess. It's like guess who? Do they have a beard? Okay, Ellesmere, where can people find you, and what do you have coming up? We will of course put all the information as well in the description-y boxy below. But please, I'd really like people to be able to follow your journey.
You can find. Whoa! What the? Okay. Well, you can see more deaths like that on Twitch, Ellesmere_gaming. You can also find me on Twitter, which is just Ellesmere Gaming, no underscore. And what I have coming up is TGP. So come cheer me on, or cheer your favorite team on. The more viewers, the merrier. So I hope to see you guys there.
And do you do any coaching, anything like that?
I don't, but I do have a guide for any HPALs that are looking to become better at the game. Specifically, it focuses on M+ and Raid. Do not ask me for PvP advice. You will not like what you get. But if you're interested in PvE, check out wingsup.com. That is my website.
Is that you?
For yeah.
I've used that website so many times.
Yes.
There we go. That shows how much I pay attention. Ellesmere, you've been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me. And guys, thank you everyone for watching. Please make sure to comment on who you'd like to see next. Do all that YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, comment, share. Algorithm, I think, is the word that people use here. I'm not very good at this. And for more exclusive RaiderIO content, follow us on Twitter and YouTube, join the Discord server, and I will see you in the next electrifying episode of Battlefield Banter. Thank you very much.